Welcome back. Let's finish off this slide with the last 3 points. Displaying different sized images for different backgrounds. Again, that makes sense, right? Right now in the world, there's so many people with so many different sized screens. Some people are visiting your website on a mobile phone. Some people may be on an iPad. Another person may be on a large display screen. Everybody has different screen sizes. So why would we want to send a large background image that works on a TV screen to somebody with a tiny mobile screen device? And we're able to easily do that using something called media queries. And they look something like this. Media queries are useful when you want to apply CSS styles depending on a device general type, such as the screen size, as you can see over here. Specific characteristics such as the width of the view or the environment, such as the size of the screen. And media queries have this general syntax where you do @media, and then you give it what kind of properties you want. For example, screen, which 99% of the time this is what you want to use it for a screen that the website is being viewed on. You can also change this to something like print, and this means that this CSS file will be activated when it's in print screen mode. But media queries are very simple. Using CSS, you can actually deliver a different background image for the various screen sizes that your site provides. This means that you must save your images in different file sizes for them to work. But I think just watching this, it might not make sense. So let me give you an example. I have over here a website that we'll actually use as an exercise at the end of this section to optimize things. It's a simple index file, and you can see the tasks that you'll have to do later on. But for now, let's just focus on the fact that it's very simple. It just has a hello text and an image. It loads some CSS and also some JavaScript. The thing we really care about is the first line, which loads the first style sheet. And this style sheet over here, as I said, uses media queries. And you can see over here that we have the body background being used 3 times. We have the regular way that we have seen before. Background is yellow. But then we also have media queries that says that we want a media query for any screen that has a minimum width of 900 pixels. In that case, I want you to load up the body CSS to have a background with an URL of the image that we provide for it, which looks like a pretty massive image, with a few CSS syntaxes to make it nice. And we also have another media query, because we can use as many as we want, that says the same thing, except for this time, we want to say that max width is 500 pixels. So let's see what this actually does and what these differences might be. I have the website running over here, and you can see that it's a very simple website, but I think it looks pretty good, especially this dog over here. But check this out. As I change the screen size of this, my background just turned to yellow, and my background just turned to the image. So it looks like depending on the screen size, images are being loaded, or it's yellow. Interesting. So that's media queries at work. What I'm saying is, if I open up the developer tools and go into elements, we see over here that we have our styles for the body, and these styles have a media screen with a min width of 900 pixels. So we see that anytime the minimum width of the screen is over 900 pixels, I want you to apply this CSS style, which makes sense. As we make it smaller and smaller, and we go below 900 pixels, it turns to yellow. And we see in the top right corner over here how it shows us the pixel width. But as soon as we hit less than 900, we have a yellow background. And then as soon as we hit 500, because as soon as the max width is 500 pixels, well, we have a URL once again. And you see over here that it's not calculating the background size and the background's a little bit weird. So let's fix that. We'll say cover, save that. There you go. That looks a lot better. So that's it. Media queries, I'll leave resources for you at the end of the video so you can test it out yourself. But I forgot to mention one interesting thing. You might be thinking to yourself, well, even if the original screen of the user, let's say the user has a screen, an iPad, that is this size, aren't we still loading the image in the background? I mean, don't we still need to get this? Well, let's check it out. This is something that we'll go into in later on videos, but I want to show you just a nice little example. If I delete here, go to the network tab, it's going to show me as soon as I refresh all the files that are being loaded for this website. So I'm going to refresh. And I have some files here, but if you look, I have CSS, JavaScript, I have the dog image, the puppy image over here. There you go. But no background image because we don't need it for this screen size. If I delete this, and as soon as I make it a little bit bigger, do you see that? The image got downloaded. So the browser is smart enough to know to only download whatever it actually needs. If it doesn't need the massive background image, well, it doesn't need to load it. And we just saved ourselves a whole bunch of time. I mean, how cool is that? So media queries are very, very important, especially if you have users that use different screen sizes, which in this day and age, that's pretty common. All right, so there's that. Let's go to the last 2 points. Use CDNs or content delivery networks like ImageX and remove image metadata. Let's talk about these. ImageX is just one example of a tool that we can use. And as you can read from their website, what they do is, well, they take care of all the images for you. They optimize them, they deliver them, they use something called caching, which we'll talk about in Performance Part 3. They are saying, hey, give us all your images, no matter how big they are, no matter how unoptimized they are, just upload it onto our website. And then we'll give you back a URL. And this URL, you can just plug it into any of your websites. So this URL here, I can put in an ImageX URL that I get of the photo I just uploaded. And they take care of optimizing it and making sure that it's as small as possible. And they also use something called content delivery networks. So again, something that we'll get into in Performance Part 3, but they allow faster access through their servers of images instead of just uploading it ourselves. So that's pretty nice. And then finally, this is going to get creepy. We want to remove the photos meta tags. What does that mean? Well, there's a really cool website over here that I will link to. And what they do is they allow you to remove meta tags of a photo. And what that means is that most photos, when you take a picture of them, let's say with a digital camera, not only take the picture, but also save some data about where the photo was taken, what device it was taken on, which we don't need on a website. But most of all, it's also kind of creepy, right? We don't want to necessarily have an image of us maybe hiking some mountain and for people to see where the image was taken, what my device was, and all that information. Let me show you by an example. I have an image over here that I downloaded from the web. It's a nice, simple boat picture. If I open this into this website and I click on View EXIF, all right, look at that. It shows me where this picture was taken, which looks like it was taken in Ibiza. It gives us our GPS coordinates. It tells us all the camera information, including that it was taken on an iPhone 4. And, well, that's not only do we not want that for privacy reasons, but that's also extra data that we don't need to have in our photo. That's just extra information and extra size. So I can click Remove. And look at that. Now I get a new photo that if I go to Adjust Size, I see that this photo is 137 kilobytes. If I go back to the original photo, let's put it side by side. And for this one, I just click on Adjust Size. We see that, well, it's definitely a lot bigger. And nothing changed in the image, and we've only really saved 3 kilobytes. But we were able to remove the meta tags. And this is good for performance, but obviously also security reasons. Very cool. So let's review. Using all these techniques listed here, we're able to save a lot of transfer that a client and a server need to do. And this is a huge issue, especially with images. And using all these techniques, we can make sure that our websites are performant. So hopefully, all this text on the screen now makes sense to you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.